There are many things that happen inside of entertainment, whether it's from now or from the past. And one of the things inside of entertainment that I've always wanted to revisit are the original seasons of 24 via the 24 podcast. Well, I'm doing it. Not only am I doing it, I'm including one of my very favorite friends from 24, production designer Joseph Hodges. Everybody, hello, Joseph. How are you, friend?
I'm good. I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I am so glad to have you inside of this. For those that don't know Joseph Hodges was the production designer for many of the seasons of 24 and made not only what I think is the boldest impact inside of 24, but Joseph, tell everyone what a production designer actually does, because when I tell people about production designers, I always get the dog side head tilt and nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Well, a production designer basically designs the show. So he gives the look. I mean, he's the first person to talk with the director about, the style of the show. So we get to design it. And then part of the job, apart from just designing and building sets, is to make the production work we have a schedule. So to juggle things like, to go to a location and perhaps choose a room that I can dress as something else. So it's a very, very, very broad, I get with the costume designers and, it's basically taking charge of the look of a show. Once it's designed and you walk away, the DP, the director of photography, could light it and do whatever he wants, but, and they tend to, but at the beginning, I create a look. So 24, I like to think, did have a very stylistic look because I was the designer.
Yeah, no question. What I always tell people too, for production designers, is essentially they touch everything that you see on the screen. They don't, just as you said, they don't give the final lighting, the camera angles. All of that is something that you obviously think about, but everything that is being seen on the camera has been touched by you, which is why I love having production designers and directors and the people that are outside the star circle inside of programming to come on and talk about those things, because that's where the real stories come from. And again, that's why you're here, and I'm so appreciative of it.
No problem.
What was the first year that you learned about 24, Joseph?
The first year I learned about it.
Yeah. So you're sitting someplace and somebody throws something your way about 24.
Well, my agent, I went and interviewed for the pilot, and they turned me down because I lacked experience. And so they went with Carlos, Barbosa, who was with the same agency. So he sent us both along. Who else? I mean, who knows how many people he sent along. But he sent Carlos and I, and Carlos had done a few more. I mean, I think I'd done a movie, a low budget, straight to video kids movie as a production designer. And I think I'd art directed on a couple of movies before this agency decided to pick me up. So the first time I heard about 24 was when I interviewed for the pilot, and I interviewed with Joel. Joel loved me, and I think, yes, Joel wanted me. And so I had to then go and interview with somebody who used to be an agent who was now running Fox. I can't remember his name, Steve somebody or other. And I had to interview with him, and obviously that didn't go so well because that's when they went and chose Carlos. And then because they did the pilot, and Carlos was at the time, he was too big for television. He didn't want to do television. He was still trying to do movies, I think. So he didn't want to do the show. And so Joel then called my agent and said, I want Joseph to do the show. And this guy at Fox made me interview with him again, and I had to go and see him again in his office. And I remember nothing was changed. I remember getting to his door and looking back at him going, I like the painting behind. I like your choice of painting you've got on your wall behind you. And it was very abstract, to me it was the tiles on a Spanish Mediterranean villa. And he said, oh yeah, what do you like about it? It's like, it reminds me of Mediterranean tile, blah blah blah. And I think at that point I got the job, because I don't think he realized I don't think many people realized what was that painting, or perhaps it wasn't. I don't know. Anyway, so I got the job. And I remember taking the video home, the 4x3. It was 4x3 then. You know, I emailed you about that. That I'd watched the DVD and it's in letterbox. And when it started in letterbox, I was like, well, I'm not sure I've ever seen the first season in letterbox. So I took it home and I watched it, and I went back to work, and and went to speak with Joel, and I said, Joel, you know, it's great, but I would like to make the CTU, because we were now building it more high tech, because they shot at a location called it was Fox Sports, or Fox. Yeah, I think it was Fox Sports. It was their Fox thing, and it was quite a big space. It was just an office space, and it was great. But it had brickwork and woodwork, and Carlos had come in, I think, and painted or put some. No, I think the screens were there that went up the stairs. So he added them in the conference room, which was great, because then but I got rid of all the wood. Anyway, Joel said, yes, you can design whatever you want. Well, you can upgrade it. And so
I love all of that. And those are the kinds of details and storytelling that's going to make this just fantastic.
Okay.
I think a couple of first things as well, just a little bit of housekeeping. For those of you that are curious, the shirt that I'm wearing is actually the official shirt of what was the official 24 fan club. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I happen to have 20 shirts like this in plastic from a relationship that I had previously, and I am very interested in giving them away to you guys. The way that you can do that is simply by going to 24podcast.com. You guys know the old mantra: fill out the quick web form. Let us know what you think about the programming, but more importantly, what you thought about 24 from back then. Joseph, it's time to get into the 24 podcast season 1 review of episode 1, hour 1, 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. But first, the 24 in 60, an ultra quick, humorous review of this episode.
24 in 60.
It's time to revisit a classic that is now 25 years old, but classic nonetheless. We're digging into the hit fuck show 24. This is the 24 in 60 plus, an ultra quick and humorous review of the worst days of Jack Bauer's life. This time, it's season 1, hour 1, 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. on the day of the California presidential primary. Let's get to it. Tall buildings in Kuala Lumpur. Ooh, pretty. And filled with danger. The bustling cityscape is the centerpiece for erupting comic book-like panels that reveal a classic cast and a man dealing with a sat phone. It's Victor Rovner. He's requesting permission for a new transmission. He's begun sending details to... Someone's knocking on the door. Who could that be? We don't know. Over in Los Angeles, California... It's Walsh, one of the head honchos from CTU, the counter-terrorist unit. He collects the transmission and now knows that there will be an attempt made on the life of Senator David Palmer, who is the first black man running for president. Next, we meet David Palmer, who is discussing being bold with his staff. Snap back to another part of LA. Oh, hey, look, it's Jack Bauer. We're inside his house, and he's having a short discussion with his daughter, Kim. The two of them are having a discussion about Jack's recently estranged wife, Terry, who's sitting in the other room. Kim apparently shovels off to bed, thanking Daddy Jack for moving back in the house. Oh, isn't that nice? So cute. Terry and Jack sit together and have a short banter about Kim's recent interaction and decide it's time to lay down the law with her. Make sure that there's respect inside the household. The two of them walk up to her room to make sure things are set straight and... Kim is gone! She's missing! Where'd she go? We don't know. But we will before this episode of the Hit Fuck Show 24 is done. Woohoo! It's Nina from CTU. Again, that's the counter-terrorist unit. She's telling Jack that Walsh has news and is on his way. Wow. Jack tells Terry that he'll be back within the hour. No, he won't. And Jack heads off to work at CTU. Kim has flown the coop and is now driving around with her girlfriend, Janet, who is prepared for them to hook up on a date with real men, not boys. It's put your makeup on while you're driving time, and the night's about to get hot. Ultra hot. It's time to meet the CTU staff. Look, it's Nina Myers, Jamie Farrell, and Tony Almeida. The gang's all here and ready for action. Jack arrives at CTU. Walsh is about to arrive. Jack wants a complete listing of Senator Palmer's staff. And while there's some initial bluster, Tony Almeida is on it. Across town, the boys and girls arrive at a furniture store. Okay. Janet takes off with her man number 1, Dan, and Kim meets main man number 2, Rick. It's time to make the furniture store loud and proud. Hard rock, smoke, and wild living begins here.
Yeah!
Yeehaw! Back at CTU, Jack welcomes Walsh, who shares that David Palmer's life has been threatened by an on-the-way overseas shooter and asks for a cross-reference in all terrorist databases. It needs to be initiated right now. But wait, there's more. Walsh also wants to know how Jack's been doing at home. Huh? Jack lets him know that they're trying, but wait, there's even more. Not only is there going to be an attempt on David Palmer's life, there's also a mole inside of CTU. And they're likely in on the hit on Senator David Palmer. We also find out that Jack has made a career now of calling out the bad guys inside the agency. And Walsh knows that Jack is the only man that he can trust. Jack promises that he'll look into it. Oh, and by the way, George Mason is also going to arrive shortly. Walsh confirms that Jack should not trust anyone, not even his own people. Whoa. Way up high, aboard an airplane, a man whose name is Martin. He's a photographer. Is wondering when the flight will be landing. And guess what? It's just under an hour. Imagine that. One of Senator Palmer's entourage takes a phone call. It's from the plane. It's Martin, the photographer. He confirms that David Palmer will be at the breakfast in the morning. A woman sitting next to Martin, her name is Mandy, overhears the phone conversation and begins to work her feminine wiles to find out more information about Senator Palmer and the future plans. That's strange. Why is she doing that? We don't know, but we will, because there will be more soon.
Bogus.
Hey, guess what? It's Terry. She's telling Jack that she found
marijuana
in Kim's room. Just when you thought shit wasn't stacking high enough for Jack, up the stack goes. Across town, inside the furniture store, Kim's having a chat with Rick and confirms that her dad is dead? Huh? Why'd she say that? Over at CTU, George Mason arrives to Jack's office and confirms that the shooter will be arriving shortly on a plane. He also gives more Jack intel about the shoot. Jack wants to know who the source of the information is, but Mason won't share. Jack asks him again to reveal the source, and shenanigans! Mason isn't playing nice, so it's time for Jack to play. Woohoo! Jack heads down to the inventory closet to retrieve a tranquilizer gun, the good old trank gun, and heads back to his office. Mason pretends to finish up a fake phone call and eventually shares with Jack that he can't reveal the source, which isn't gonna work. Jack shoots Mason with the trank gun. Nina enters the room as Mason slumps to the floor and wonders what the hell is going on. You see, Jack shares that Mason was apparently at the center of even more CTU embezzlement shenanigans previously, and he intends to use that information as blackmail as a way to get the source's name. That means that Nina's got less than a half an hour before Mason wakes up to find the dirt, and she's on it. Terry's phone rings again. It's Alan York, the father of Janet York. You know, Kim's driving, drunken, whoring friend, who finds that his daughter has apparently made an appointment inside of her notebook for Kim and her to go out tonight. Over at CTU, Nina's hit a wall, and it's time to solicit Tony Almeida's help. Initially, Tony Almeida plays coy, but eventually he helps them and gets the intel that Jack is looking for. Jack saunters over to Jamie's desk and wants all the passwords associated with a single phone number. Okay, no problem. Not too cool, but in the land of the Hip Fox Show 24, super cool and expedient. In just seconds, Jamie's affirmed her ability to collect information instantaneously and has gotten Kim's password to her computer. Alrighty then. Speaking of Kim, she and Rick are inside the furniture store looking for Jan and her main man Dan, who are apparently carving a significant divot in the display bed inside the furniture store. Back way up high on the airplane, Mandy continues to woo the man who will soon be taking photos of David Palmer later this morning. And it's time for 2 new members of the Mile High Club. Back at the Palmer Hotel room, Maureen Kingsley, you know, from the network, has an urgent overnight message to a new piece of, quote, information. David Palmer instantly denies the allegation she makes and hangs up on her. It's media nonsense and apparently completely unimportant. Right. Jack and Nina have a conversation about compromise, and it's time to stop compromising. The line's drawn here. No further.
Jack will not compromise this time.
Terry finds out where Kim went and invites Alan York to go there with her. The 2 of them are on their way, and speaking of coming, Janet and her boyfriend, main man Dan, and Kim and Rick discover that Kim's gotta go home because of the message that Terry sent. All right. What a devoted daughter. They all jump aboard the love wagon, where Kim discovers that Janet's been slipped more than a sausage. She also has apparently been given a Mickey, and she is out of it. Over at CTU, Tony Almeida's got the detail that Jack needs and sends it over to Jack's screen. Jack smacks Mason on the cheeks to wake him up and asks again, Who is the source? Mason doesn't reveal anything. Jack then lays down the facts about the $200,000 that's missing. You know, the money that Mason is the centerpiece of. He threatens to send the information to CTU head honcho Chappelle. You know, Mason's boss, unless he's told who the source is. After being given a 5-second deadline, Mason quietly shares the details in a typed message on Jack's keyboard. Jack has the information. Back on the plane, Mandy begins asking questions of a stewardess and then puts the stewardess to sleep with a syringe to the neck and nabs the now sleeping photographer's identification badge. She pulls out a bag of goodies from the luggage rack and begins lining the airplane door with bit cord. Huh? She also procures a bomb from a fire extinguisher and puts it on the fuselage. She then begins putting on her evacuation gear. In 15 seconds, the det cord blows. Then another 5 seconds later, boom! The plane blows above the Mojave Desert, showering the now flying Mandy with orange glow. It's horrific, it's off screen, and makes the imagination jump. Terry calls Jack again and tells him that Ellen York and she are headed to the valley. They're on the hunt for Kim, and the phone breaks up. Of course it does. Tony Almeida shares with Jack that a bomb, apparently on board a plane, has gone off over the Mojave Desert and that the plane has crashed. Back in the love wagon, supposedly taking Kim home, Kim's turn's been missed. They also missed appearance at an intersection, and the night is just getting started, as is this series. And the boop, beep, boop, beep continues. You've just listened to another episode of the 24 in 60, an ultra-quick and humorous review of each episode of the Hit Fox Show 24. This is a companion podcast of the ongoing episode reviews via the 24 podcast. In that podcast, you experience production designer Joseph Hodges and OG podcaster Mike Wilkerson as they detail the worst days of Jack Bauer's life.
It's all happening in real time.
It's happening now, and it's all available at 24podcast.com. Come and watch and listen at 24podcast.com. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Ultra quick, always humorous, and a ton of fun. Easy to catch up on episodes, too. Again, for those of you that haven't ever watched this program, we're also going to have links down in the description inside the video, but then also over at the show notes for this episode over at 24podcast.com. Joseph, we got so much to talk about inside of this episode. Let's get to it. The state of entertainment inside of modern day entertainment. This is something that Joseph and I have had a probably, 10 or 15 minute discussion on. And there's a series of videos that I found recently that talk about what happens inside of entertainment and how the storytelling is just absolutely missing. The storytelling is a third or fourth element added in behind a whole bunch of usually agenda pushing inside of just about every program that's available now. And frankly, it's why we're doing this program and revisiting something that is now, get this, 25 years old. And the concept of solid storytelling, effective visuals, and a program that pushes the pace, there is nothing like 24 that I've ever seen that pushes the pace like this. What do you think, Joseph?
No, 25 years. That's what I'm stuck on.
How about that? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no. And I did watch that video, that the link you sent me of the gentleman, the fake wizard.
Yeah, the real life fake wizard. Yeah, we'll have a link to that video inside of the description here as well.
Yeah, insightful. I mean, destroyed all our heroes, and it's leaking out that I just watched something, or I just read something on Twitter that some executive went something about the Return of the Jedi and something else. Those people knew nothing about the original story, and but there are people now like speaking up. It's a bit late.
Not only is it a bit late, it's where it's time to start hiring writers that not only know anything about the previous iterations of the programming that's been showcased, but people that have something other than just a particular piece of agenda to shovel to us. Because I have no interest. What I have interest in is some really great character building, building the tapestry that characters and storytelling is supposed to give us inside of stories, and not having something shoved down my throat because it's time to shove something down my throat. That is, if there was a golden nugget of, again, why we're doing not only this show, but then revisiting a television program that's 25 years old, that's why we're doing this today. And again, I'm so glad that you're here with me with the ride, Joseph. It's just going to be great. 2 countries, 2 DVD cases, and a whopping load of storytelling. Joseph had sent me an email recently that had essentially a cover shot of the DVD case that he has. and I have something completely different. Joseph, the one that you showed me, is that something, I'm assuming, did you pick that up in the UK?
I guess so. I mean, look at the state of it. I actually had to borrow this from my mum because I think it was at my mum's. I don't seem to have a copy of the first season, but yeah, I must have. Yeah, includes all 24 episodes plus alternative ending and season 2 preview. So it must have come out after this season 2 had come out. Otherwise, they wouldn't have. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, it's crazy. I can't wait to get to see what the alternative ending was.
Well, yeah, and there's also a bit of storytelling there too with the DVD differences. My DVD set has absolutely nothing other than the episodes. It's a static
Right.
screen with you being able to pick the hours and a picture of Jack on the front of it, and that's it. You literally have no other options.
Right.
And so I too am very curious about this alternate ending and all of the
But
what it looks like
that was
features.
that was the crazy thing about, I guess, when it got really hot, the show, when the people would come by, like I remember John Mayer came by. I've got him on video playing guitar to us all, and then gave his guitar to Kiefer as a present. But
Oh wow.
he'd say, I'd ask them, how did you get into the show? And they go, we're going on world tour, or we're going on tour. We're at the DVD place at the airport. We look at all the DVDs available. Here's 24 hours of it. Because most seasons are only, 18 or 20 hours. But we could get 24 hours of entertainment here. So they choose it. They start watching it. They then hand it to all the band members. Now the band members are all fans. The roadies, everyone on tour now is watching 24. And then they start watching. So many people said the same. It was the DVDs that got them into it.
Yeah, there's no question. And again, that's also, we're going to be dinging it officially inside the second episode review, but the stuff that appears inside of what is currently the Disney Plus window looks like it was shot through a potato. I mean, like it's terrible.
Right.
There's hardly any color. The contrast is absolutely missing.
Right.
And even watching that, or starting to watch that inside of my Sage old still have it plasma television, it's impossible because it's just a big black blob.
Right.
And so again, I abandoned that and went to my DVD set, and it's not only is it night and day difference, it's where you can actually see some of the work that you and your cohorts did inside of the television program. And for those of you that have only seen it through something like Disney Plus, I encourage you to seek out not only the DVDs, but also the Blu-ray sets that are all available. We're actually going to have links to all of those, as well as all the soundtracks that we can get our hands on inside the description here, inside the video, but then also over at the show notes over at 24podcast.com. Again, the quality of the DVD is amazing. The actual episodes rather. But I sure do wish that there was something in regard to features that would give us something more, because I think everybody that's ever listened to our program, they know what a giant DVD feature whore I am. I love all the behind the scenes stuff. And it's frankly where I find people like you that are giving a lot of what we're going to be talking about inside of this series.
Yeah, I don't think it was big enough then to do a behind the scenes. I remember later we certainly did, John and I sit down and do, we'd watch the episode and do a commentary. I think John Cassar and I have done a number of those. But no, I mean, we were amazed to be picked up for a second season. I mean, not amazed. First of all, we only had 12 episodes. When I started, we only had 12 episodes planned, or 11, including the pilot. So they'd shot the pilot. So we were only supposed to be doing the 12 episodes. That's why it kind of ends when the family is rescued. Then they needed a completely different story.
And that's interesting, again, that they've allowed you to have any ending of any kind. Something that happens inside of modern day entertainment now is, regardless of whether they've been picked up for another season, they will instantly end it onto a cliffhanger so as to try and propel the concept of, well, we need another season. And that's just, again, all that leads to is a bunch of stories that never have an ending.
Right.
And I hate that. Something else that you and I talked about during the writer's strike, what was it, 5 or 6 years into it, there was a writer's strike. And what was terrible about the writer's strike, other than there just being a complete interruption of entertainment, what also happened was you had, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 programs that I was actively watching and enjoying, where they got not only no end, they just instantly were gone like a Thanos snap. I mean, it was horrifying.
Yeah. The writer's strike. That's another story.
Definitely a series of stories. I had forgotten about the election. I don't know what it is, but inside of the subsequent worst days of Jack's life, they kind of cast aside all the election stuff because it's not that it wasn't important anymore, but you'd already done it. There was a checkbox. And so just revisiting campaign sets was probably just stupid. So they didn't do it. But I had completely forgotten that it was the day of the California primary election. And it's a piece that propels the entire first season, as well as the storytelling in about one sentence at the beginning of every episode. And again, it's where how can you paint the picture very quickly, efficiently, and not be ridiculously verbose? And they do it every single episode. I love it. David Palmer is the target. So here we go. David Palmer, probably top 10 characters, as well as being one of the best character actors ever inside of a television program, because he's warm, he is accommodating, but he's also determinant, and he absolutely takes charge as the series ebbs on, and he becomes a hero that we all revel in, no matter when it is inside the series.
Yeah, I mean that episode, that first episode, where you learn so much about this man in such a short time. When he's down in that parking, oh wait, that's not in the pilot. It's the next one where he goes down to the parking structure and those thugs, and he just, the strength of the man just to hold that bat. And to stand up. No, and in the first, it was beautifully written, and beautifully played.
What kind of interaction did you? That's all right. What kind of interaction did you have with the writers inside of 24? Did you have any interaction with the writers?
Not to begin with. Not really. Well, see, because this is what happened, because it was something that had never been done before. The time aspect. So when we'd read the script from day one, the first episode that I was in, I remember having these meetings that I'm pretty sure no other show would have, that we would try and work out how we could possibly get Jack from there to there without him sitting in a car for without, how could we structure it all, and I think before, writers would have taken care of that, but the way it was set up with Cyrus as a producer, I don't know, and Robin, I remember having these meetings with the director, and we would change things around, and that will help me as a production designer then dictate, well, this location works for this, and this. I know you've written a location for, and not these first episodes, I'm not saying, but later on, for sure, I would be able to say to a director, I know a beautiful location. It's not what they've written for that, but we can do that scene in this structure. We just go back to the writers and tell them, we're going to do this, which on other shows, you would never, the directors, visiting directors would just look at you and go, you're crazy. I'm shooting what's on the page. And I was like, but we can do that. It makes your life easier. But yeah, Palmer. So the first episode, that was all at a real location, that hotel, which you can see the wallpaper changes, and I got rid of all that. I didn't like the graphic artwork on that, on the campaign stuff. The stars is done with that sort of cowboy. Anyway, didn't like that. So you can see in the second episode, it all changes, and the hotel changes slightly because I've chosen a lot. The wallpaper's much nicer, and It's really cool. And even things I remember now, when the door opens, it was one of my things. So 1439, I think, is the number of their suite when they open the door. And 143 was always, when you had a pager from the early days, 143 always meant I love you. And then I'm guessing 9 was somebody I was dating at the time, and they had 9 letters in their name. I'm guessing that's what that's why 143 is on the door.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Again, that's not only is that why you're here. The tether to and from writers back then, where there would be some sort of pliability, that too is something that's lost. Where rather than there being some sort of a negotiation to make something compelling, there has to be no, I've written it this way and that's the way we're doing it. And especially when I think you're going to feel a lot of this during our programming too, where, life's interactions, regardless of how emotion filled or how mundane they are, it's all a chemistry set. And very often you get to pick which elements are inside of your chemistry set.
Right.
So
yeah,
when
absolutely. And I was just thinking, because I've got that sort of, we're talking and I've got this visual of the thing that when it happened, and it's burned into my head when I had finished the CTU for the 4th season, when we'd moved and it all became kind of red, white and blue, and it had those beautiful we called them the skateboard ramps because of this exterior that I found. Anyway, the new CTU, but I had gone upstairs to all the writers' assistants and said, I'd like to give all the writers a tour of the new set so that they, can see the new set. And I remember I was standing down the end of the corridor as the assistants kind of went into the writers' rooms. And one writer came out and goes, why the fuck would I want to see the sets? And I'm like, down the other end of the corridor, go, because you're writing for them?
You ready the story?
I don't know. They got it. That's how it got to I just thought it was weird. Why wouldn't you? But then, you used to read scripts and, Jack comes out of his office and, does such he says, yeah, but she's over there.
This is something else that I've recently heard inside of a series of podcast interviews with some really great actors is that the ones that are able to settle into their characters, but more importantly, the ones that are remembered after a period of time.
Yeah.
The reason that they are remembered for those characters is because while they were reading the script, they actually envisioned themselves inside the writing, but then also perhaps a series of other people that might also be inside the writing, allowing them to take it in and marinate inside of the character, which I think is missing. There are so many characters and actors right now that are just absolutely paper thin. And they don't soak up any of the character. They just appear as themselves. And you're like, oh, it's him again. And it's that person as that person inside of whatever story is being told. And the story is shit. Their acting portrayals are shit. And so the whole thing is shit. And it's one of the reasons, again, why we're doing this series inside the 24 podcast capture. Painting a quick and familiar picture. This is one of the things that I think there's many things I have reveled in regard to 24, but the paneling that is essentially the comic book paneling. I love that there is the ability to, within a very few seconds, not only paint a series of imagery to put the audience to where they're supposed to be, but it's also a revisit to attention span. And as we look back now, 25 years, all I can think about is back then I was a professional web designer. And what they said was you have 11 seconds to get someone's attention inside of what you're showcasing on the web, whether it be a web page or whatever was being showcased back then. Unfortunately, that's now devolved into you now have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. And again, when I think about that, it's why we are making this longer form content, Joseph, because I refuse to make shortened content for the sake of making shortened content. There is no way to make a 24 episode compilation completely delivered to an audience in 30 seconds. I'm certain we could find a way and it would maybe get them a hook, but I don't want to do that. I want people to shut up and go listen to our program, soak in the storytelling, visit with you and I as the storytellers of what the hell is going on with this television program, and then go revel in the program. I don't think that's too much to ask, especially when you think about the satisfaction that's delivered by the program. I've always wanted to have, and it's the war on attention span. I require my audience to have a modicum of attention span. This series is not a second screen television series, and the second screen series is
on the screen
while it's going on. Everyone's got their phone in their ass, looking at whatever's on their phone and not paying attention to what's on screen. You cannot do that inside of 24. If you do that, you're going to miss not only what Joseph has provided as a production designer, you're also going to miss all kinds of storytelling. And these paneling sections inside of each episode are a perfect sample of what I'm talking about.
It was not a mistake, but it was one of those things that Stephen had come up with. I mean, everything that 24 is visually, the shooting style, everything was Stephen. I mean, he comes in, and so they only have a certain amount of time to shoot this. So he decides to shoot it all very, very tight, but very wide, all very, very long lenses. And when you do that, you can shoot, you can hide the nearer camera. And anyway, you can shoot the same scene. And then he told me the reason why he did the boxes was because at that time on the Playboy channel, they had, I guess, the beginnings of not Big Brother then, it was similar, I guess, on the Playboy channel. They had a house where people were staying at the house, but they had it in boxes. And Stephen went, I'll do 20, and it shows the real time aspect. It's sold real time. When you have Kiefer the first time, Jack walking into CTU, and there's a camera inside and a camera outside and 3 cameras outside, and you see it from the same one, and it's like, it's goosebump pulse, and you know that you're now watching something live, not another take. So that was the again, Stephen, just because of time, he did it that way. And then, I remember when we had the first season visiting directors, they came in and Stephen would stand over their shoulders and, you know, for the first couple of days, no, we don't shoot it like that. You don't do your master and your wide and then your inserts, you know, then your, you know, individual, you do your master and then you're over the shoulders and all of that bullshit. No. That's why Joel said once to me, he goes, directing is really easy. And I was like, yeah, only if you're direct, like, you know, like some TV directors, it's just one big master and it's over the shoulders and the DP's telling you, and you're just really directing actors. And are you really directing actors? Because you've got the writers usually sitting behind you, talking to you, which never happened on 24. The writers were never there. And that was, I'm not sure if Kiefer and Stephen had laid down that law to begin with, because they didn't want the writers there. And if Kiefer changed anything, Kiefer would jump on the phone and call the writers and say, I'm doing this and I'm saying this, or I don't think Jack would do that. But any other television show that I've been on, the writers are back there, like doing a commercial. Could you shoot it? Can you get him to smile a little more? And it's like, well, why the fuck have you hired a director? That's the director's job. You know, I couldn't direct television. That's why I did the second unit because I loved all of that. But no, 24 again was unique that way. A director found himself on stage with just Kiefer and actors, and you do what you do. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and again, not only was it brilliant, it allows you to have this. There's a palpable taste to what happens inside of 24, and it is magical. And again, it's what it captured the attention span to sit there and watch it, because it was every minute going on, fostered again by these comic bookish, now essentially Playboy channel paneling that was done. I love that. I love that story.
And you've got Jay on second camera and Jay on first. A guy was on first camera. Guy and Jay. And other shows tried to do it, but nobody ever held a handheld like Guy did. And he was a big man, and he'd had this stool. They made him these stools with skateboard wheels, and with the concrete floor was, you know, really smooth. And he'd do these shots, and no one. That again, Guy and Jay and Guy I don't think two other cameramen would have given this show the same look either. They were, again, unique in what they did and can't be taught. When one of them wasn't there, and you could tell when Jay took over Guy's camera and Guy wasn't there because we had now another camera, you could always tell there's a new cameraman. Even when someone stood in or we had C camera, nah, you could always tell. They were brilliant.
They absolutely were. Having a teenage daughter and a couple of perspectives. Joseph, if I'm not mistaken, you also have a daughter, do you not?
I do.
Yeah, and she's she's probably approaching, she's not nearly as old as Kim was inside of this, but
she's 8, so perhaps not.
She's 8 now?
Yes. So
okay.
Kim was what? Kim must have been about 15?
Probably 14, 15, 16, right in there somewhere. The gist though is that usually now an 8-year-old is probably approaching those ages. So,
right, and I was just thinking, as you mentioned, I'm just thinking, would they do that scene anymore on television? A 14, 15-year-old girl sneaking out at night and her friend having sex in the bed upstairs? There
is very little in the way of chance that anything like this would happen nowadays. And again, that's why it's not that I don't want there to be that showcased on television, but it's an instance of storytelling. This isn't the story. Here is what is happening. Results of what's going on. And I miss that that's happening. What we're talking about here specifically is that both you and I are now fathers to daughters. And so seeing Kim in this absolutely peril-ridden effort it has a completely different taste now.
Yes.
When I was first watching this would have been actually probably just a little under 2 years before we had our daughter. We had our daughter in 2003. And I think this was the summer of 2001-ish. Because it was right before 9/11, which is something else that we also need to talk about. In any case, having a daughter and watching this now, it leaves me with a completely different taste in my mouth because it's real. Back then, it was just like, well, I kind of knew somebody that was that age and ran around and ran away from home, and I knew people that did that. But now that I have a daughter who has never done any of the things inside of this show, by the way, I have a daughter, it really does hit differently, but it has so much impact.
Yeah, Terry still annoys me. I hate that guy.
Yeah, the doting mom, no question.
Well,
are you at work? Yeah, honey, I'm still at work saving the planet. Sorry.
God.
Kim has flown the coop. Thankfully, again, I have a daughter that's now 22, and what she's never done has decided to just leave the house. Oh, wait a second, she has. And so, but mine is a little bit different. I have a 22-year-old daughter. My daughter is very high-functioning autistic, but there was one time where I got a phone call from the local constable / police department, whom I have a dear relationship with. For those that aren't familiar, the vast majority of my podcasting over the last probably 15 years has been law enforcement based. I do a law enforcement based podcast called What Cops Watch over at whatcopswatch.com. And the local police chief happens to be my co-host. And so I know many of the people inside of our local police department, but more importantly, I also know the dispatcher who I've done a podcast with. And so I get a call from Lisa, I'll name her, over digitallydispatch.com. I get a call from Lisa and she says, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, I'm good. It's I don't know, it's like 9:30 in the morning. What's up? She's an overnight dispatcher. And so getting a call from her is kind of weird. She goes, "Hey, I got some news for you." And I'm like, "Oh, do tell." I was thinking perhaps maybe some cool podcast news or maybe some juicy storytelling that would help impact her next episode. Nope. What she was telling me is that my daughter was just picked up wandering down the street on her scooter. And there were several calls about a girl on a silver scooter. And so they sent out a police officer, and the police officer was kind enough to usher my daughter home. And so the dispatcher gave me a telephone call, let me know that happened.
Right.
So
Wow.
was it anything nearly as impactful or dramatic as what happens to Kim and her idiot friend inside of this one? No. But it has happened, and I got a tiny little taste of what Kim and Jack got here tonight.
Yeah.
I'm assuming your 8-year-old has not yet flown the coop for anything, correct?
No, but you see, I live in a tiny village where I was trying to remind my wife yesterday that when Isabella was born, at sometime in the first year, we allowed the village girls to come over and take her off for 3 hours. And these are 9, 10-year-old girls. I said, remember Lucia? I think she was 9 or 10. No, she couldn't have been that young. I was like, yes. But that's the village. So when it says it takes a village, when people go, oh, I need, we had invisible help. Well, I've got my grandmother, which is her grandmother, which is a minute's walk. And then I've got pictures of Isabella with 9 village girls all looking after her. And they would disappear for 3 hours. My wife is like, there's no fucking way I used to do that. And I was like, yeah, you did. Oh yeah. I mean, the village is much busier now after COVID than it ever was. But and I am now having to tell my daughter she can't go down the road on her bicycle. She has to walk it the other way because it's just too dangerous, because there's too many hire cars and people looking at the mountain, not looking at some 8-year-old on a bicycle. So yes, I've started to rein her in that way, which is a shame.
People not only on bicycles but also motorcycles, they're completely invisible to people that are driving cars very often.
Yeah.
We've talked about some of the
So anyway, but I mean, right now she's just up the road, knees deep in water in the Torrente. She's just playing in the river, and summer's starting. Now I mean, not that we'd never not let her go out, but now she's going to really go out all the time. Yeah,
just again a completely different landscape than what we see not only in the show, but I mean, like, just ever. Completely different.
Yeah, and I'm sure she will be breaking all the rules when she's 14, 15, or earlier. Like you say, it's going to happen much earlier.
It is. Have you allowed her to have a cell phone yet?
No, she has an iPad, and she does her Duolingo and all of that stuff on it. But mostly it's YouTube and Netflix, and I can't really. I've started being much more strict with her. I mean, it's just work, that's all. And as long as I say, put it down. Let's read a book together. Let's read, and of course, this is her studio as well. It's my studio, but that's her desk. So, and she'll be sitting in this armchair. There's her iPad there, the pink iPad. She'll be sitting there, and after an hour, she'll keep the iPad on, but then she'll start going and drawing. And I encourage that, because I watch the TV, but I'm doing stuff. So, and she's very artistic that way. So, I encourage that. But it's a fine line between. I don't want to make it so it becomes something that she can't do. Do you know what I mean? They want to do it more if you tell them not to. And
100%. There's something that we there's something that we utilize after we gave our daughter a cell phone. It's something called Screen Time Labs. Screen Time Labs is an app, and again, we'll put links to Screen Time Labs inside of the listings here. And Screen Time Labs it's as big a brother as you want to be, especially as a parent, which I think everybody should. What it also, though, is that it's not a penalty system, it's a reward system. In that not only are you watching and being able to view everything that they are, you're also able to give them tasks, so that if you allot, let's say, 3 hours of screen time during any given day to do whatever the hell they're doing on their system, if they want more time, you can establish a series of chores inside of a chalk list, so that now they can run through the chores and grab an extra 45 minutes or whatever you deem you want for the rewards.
Right.
And I really dig that. The whole concept of not only budgeting your money, but budgeting your time is also something that I think parents really do like just miss out completely nowadays.
Yeah.
The concept of free reign parenting is a very strange area to jump into. And so remembering to have some tether of what your children are doing, especially when they're Isabella's age, I think is really,
Right.
really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad. Well, no, I'm not. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I'm so glad I waited till I was so much older to have a kid because I couldn't have done this when I was working. But it's completely wrong. I spend most of my time feeling guilty that I will die when she's too young, when I'm too young. Oh, well, she's too young. Do you know what I mean? I feel guilty
I
that her dad, so that's rubbish that that I wish. But again, I spent so much time with her in the last 8 years. I've spent more than most parents would spend with their daughters in a whole lifetime.
yeah.
I've rarely been working. I've been a home dad for the last 8 years, and hopefully she'll appreciate that one day. But
she'll have a leg up on most people, not just the kids inside of the village you live in, but in general. That's a magical piece that most parents absolutely can't dedicate themselves to. And really great work there, dude.
thanks, man. Yeah.
The concept of landlines. Those of you that are watching this program, probably on a frickin' cell phone, are enjoying our program to the X extent. And I love that. That's awesome. I just want everyone to try and remember back to the land of landlines because nobody has them anymore. I dare say maybe 2 people at the gun range where I work as a firearm instructor have them. And it's just because they're actually way older than I am. Other than that, the only thing most people have nowadays is just simply a cell phone number.
Right.
Do you still have a landline, Joseph?
No, not in this. My mother's house does. In this house, we just have the internet, the fiber coming in, and our mobile phones. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Some of the
remember when.
technology in that first episode. Oh no, it's the next one. He's in his car, scanning the car.
Yeah, the magnetic card reader. Yeah, very, very interesting. Super cool. Meeting dudes at a furniture store. Joseph, I'm going to put on the do not allow list for you, just early for Isabel. Not meeting 2 dudes in a van down at the furniture store. Probably not on the list.
I've never understood those Los Angeles furniture stores either. But there are some here in Spain. They're all over the place, obviously. But those furniture stores, that I've never seen a piece of furniture in them that I would go, "Oh, that'd be nice in our house."
Yeah, the makeup of the furniture store. Did you guys just raid a furniture store, or was that a space that the stuff was put into?
Yeah, nothing was dressed. That was just what was in the furniture store.
Okay.
Yeah. No, and I obviously, when we went back in the second episode, so that's when I visited it, and and we shot a lot around there because that's next 2 episodes with Jane, with them in the streets. But I remember it's so vivid, those orange pull gates, yellow gates to get in. I just remember the paint. I can feel it right now. It's been painted 1,000,000 times. It was just amazing. And then Stephen with putting that bronze statue just for them to see as they walk in. It was like that stuff was in there. It wasn't chosen. He's just. I haven't spotted Mr. Fluffy yet. Mr. Fluffy was a hand knit puppet with big ears, and Stephen used to hide it all over the set. And sometimes you just see a shadow in the background of his ear or something. He did it all over the first couple of episodes. Oh, the first season. I haven't spotted him yet. But
we'll have to look for that. If you happen to see that in the screens, make sure you notice it so that we can put it inside the documentation.
I mean, he grabbed it from Kim's bedroom, so it must be in the. Oh my God, her bedroom where they have a Coldplay poster up. Now, Coldplay obviously it was the Parachute poster, so they weren't very big then. But I just remember seeing the poster there, going, "Geez, that's a lot of clearance." Or was that promotional stuff at that time? Probably not. They just put the poster up. I don't know. And there was something else in there that the pilot that I was like, well, that's amazing that they got in there. Some other artwork in her room. Anyway, yeah, we never went back to her room, so I didn't have to redress it. Didn't have to recreate it. I think when we went back to their house later on, it was we chose a different house.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
That gets us to insert the tone. Furniture store takeover. Interesting. Again, just because I happen to work in a place that is essentially a retail environment, a gun range. Trying to imagine going there in the middle of the night and just kind of doing whatever I want there. Not really. Not really. And so I'm trying to imagine a couple of schlep rocks that work there, or maybe one of them that works there, bringing a friend and then bringing two very young females at the same time.
Right.
Probably never happening nowadays. The other thing that's also it was touched on a little bit later on in the series was cameras. There are apparently no cameras inside the furniture store, at least that are mentioned or talked about. But nowadays, there would be cameras everywhere. Outside, inside, in the corners, in the offices, in the showroom, everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Dropping the details on a potential Palmer hit. This is great. Again, the concept of very rapid, effective, satisfying storytelling that's just prattled off quickly instantly gives you an assessment of where you are inside the storytelling, and then you're on to the next beat, regardless of whether it's in the same storyline path or about something else like Kim being kidnapped or whatever else.
Right.
The bottom line, though, is that all of the information that you need is instantly delivered, and you've got a really good, solid, satisfying piece of storytelling that you can then negotiate the rest of the story with.
Wasn't that amazing shot again of Stephen of Kiefer driving to work, pulling up alongside the bus with Palmer's poster on there? I mean, I don't know if that was obviously either written to tie that way, or that's Stephen, because that's not just, oh, get me a poster and stick it on the side of the bus. That was pre-planned. It was beautifully done. But yeah, I have to put that down. I would think that was a writer's, and Jack looks over, and there's they may have written it as a poster in the street, and Stephen's like, I have no idea where we're going to shoot that. Let's put it on the side of the bus and have it much more. Well, that's what I would have chosen. But I thought, yeah, when that pulls up. And there was another thing that's jumped out at me in the pilot is Sean's music. The first time we hear that thing, which is the 24, was when Jack is in his office, Nina's behind or something, and there was a first real moment, and then that was introduced. I got goosebumps, and it was something that Sean, again, the man they chose to do the music, I don't know what his experience was before, but like, I know the guitar stuff is from Heat or something, that is, and the general choices of music. We did have a music person who used to choose tracks from bands and things, but Sean's music and that hook, the 24 hook, and he comes in so subtly, and again, whether he did that and Joel would have gone, that bit, can you repeat that here, and it became the theme. I don't know, but I noticed it was like the first time Jack, I don't know, I remember lighting on his face. It was beautiful.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny that you mentioned that, because there is a mole, and Jack is on the case as the music spools up inside of CTU. Joseph, I love that you've mentioned it inside of this piece of the episode, because you are absolutely right, and something that I have reveled in, I think, since I was a child, with probably, it's going to be the original Star Wars in 77, but then also Superman, is soundtracks, and how an effective soundtrack can not only propel the storytelling, it can also solicit feelings instantaneously. And
Yeah.
you've absolutely hit on it with that da, 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 something that we've used inside of the tones that we use inside of the 24 podcast immemorial. The original tone for our original 24 podcast, where you likely heard us, was simply the one that we're using here, which is the telephone from that particular telephone. But what we've also done is we've lilted in the effervescent Sean calorie-ness is what I'm going to call it.
Right.
It's the kind of calories that I want to have more of.
Right.
It is.
I would sometimes call him after I'd seen the episode, go, dude, it's fucking amazing again. He's sitting in his studio away from us, and he used to say, thanks so much for calling, and no one thinks, you know, I mean, he has obviously with Joel and all of that, but he's not like us that are working with each other every day. And it was just, and his music, yeah, it was amazing, his stuff.
Well, not only is it amazing, it helps to paint the picture. Again, it goes back to the concept of chemistry set, where not only do you get to choose whom you get to work inside of your chemistry set with, you allow the chemistry set to impact how you work, and vice versa. It has always been that way inside of effective storytelling, and it will always be like that inside of effective storytelling. And the visuals that were created, the music that Sean provided, the acting that was provided by everybody in the ensemble is all absolutely grand chemistry set. Aboard the plane. Now, this is very interesting, and I've waited quite a while to talk about 9/11 inside this episode.
Right.
The reason is because obviously when this was being made, there was no 9/11. There was no, having now listened to many of the stories and the propelling tales of what was going on inside of the CIA and the FBI, we now know that there was a rumor and a whisper inside of what was going on, but we had no idea when this television show was being made. However, when this show was released, it was directly impacted by 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah, so they must have shot. So I don't remember exactly when I interviewed, but let's say pilots are usually shot around April, May. Pretty sure they're done by May. And then if you're picked up, let's say I'm building. So I would have started July, perhaps. They'd been picked up. So let's say I spend 2 months building the CTU. So we start shooting. Now, I can't remember when 9/11, what episode we were shooting, but it would have been one of the first 1, 2, 3, or 4, because it would have been, it was September, of course. But I remember the time I was getting breakfast, and there's a little television at the, you know, the catering trucks, you know, the chrome catering trucks, getting breakfast. There's a television, and I remember looking up, and the building was burning, and I think I was there as the second one here. I can't remember, but yeah, they had to re-edit the pilot because in the pilot we had an airplane exploding. And I've seen both cuts. I think the second cut, the one that they left in, is much more devastating because you don't see it. It's implied. If you just see an airplane crash, I always thought it was more brutal just seeing it light up her face kind of thing.
Yeah. The concept that I always talk about, and it's something that was terribly impactful from the 1974 film Jaws, was that your imagination is far more effective in storytelling than actually seeing this giant 22-foot shark.
But I can imagine that there was a lot of discussions about cutting the whole thing out. I mean, I would venture a guess that they probably might have talked about not showing it at all. Yeah, I really do believe that. I'm pretty sure that Mandy, they may have done, I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? But obviously either it was too expensive to make it work, to do some reshoots, and they weren't putting much money to, you know, we'd only been picked up for the first 12. So it wasn't like they were thinking. And 9/11 had happened. Who knew what was happening? I mean, they was just look at how lucky they were. We had this show and 9/11 happened. I don't think 24 would have been as. It was never supposed to be about terrorism. It was about a man's job and his family and holding his family together. And 9/11 happened, and suddenly we were off with Jack Bauer being the nation's hero.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, isn't that funny that it's the counter-terrorist unit, right? I mean, that's the whole har of the story was he's this elite operative inside of this tale that's being spun. The problem is that the real world story has now instantly spun Jack into it. And it's a piece of serendipity inside of another chemistry set that I'm referring to inside of entertainment. I love it. I absolutely love it. Nina's relationship instantly revealed. Man, Nina, talk about effective storytelling and character building instantaneously. The actress here portrays her perfectly. Again, looking back now 25 years at a series where you need somebody that is the absolute helper, you need somebody that knows exactly what she's doing, you need somebody that knows how to manipulate people, you have to have somebody that knows how to show their underbelly, but then you have to have someone that is also the grand master of all that's going wrong.
Yeah, that is beautifully written over
absolutely perfect.
Okay, sorry, I watched the first 3 episodes, so I'm not quite sure where the scenes happen, but the one where someone questions Jack and she covers for him, and then when Carlos moves over and goes, it reminds me of the morning that you and I walked in together and you came up with this story and you nailed it again. You were lying again. And she just looks at him and just, within those 3 episodes, they're all their characters. You got to know them pretty much, It was
you really did. It's something we're going to talk about inside of the second episode capture with the Palmer family. You only meet the Palmer family for maybe 45 seconds, but you have a complete snapshot in the 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And again, if storytelling can do that and do it not only regularly, but can do it and satisfy regularly, why can that not still be done? And the answer is because we're simply not trying hard enough, which kind of goes back to one of our original thoughts here inside this episode, where you have to start writing compelling stories, otherwise the audience will not be interested in the story you're telling. Kim kills her father, Jack. This is a piece I had forgotten about, but it also showcases a very manipulative young mind that wants to get what she wants and knows that drama propels. Bless you.
And knows that drama choice by the director to take it out of the shop and do it on the roof. You get a little bit sense of LA, the wet streets. Again, Stephen, that's his call. Got to shoot Dad while let's just take it upstairs.
When that happens, Joseph, does that throw everyone for a loop, or is it something that was just worked by because Stephen said so?
No, he would have talked about it when we did, when you scout. It's like, I mean, I would have, but that's what, like I say, that's what the fun bit is always. I remember there's lots of occasions where we're on the top of parking lots and things, and it's like, no, we were downstairs, but me and the director have gone, no, it'd be really nice to shoot here, or we should do this. And so for instance, no, we'll talk about it in where Gaines is, that location out in the desert, because we don't see it yet, do we, in this episode?
No, we don't.
No.
Something else to talk about too. When you have a location shoot like that, an assumption you're getting permits, and when you get the permit, do you have like the ability to shoot inside of the entire structure, or is it just areas inside the structure?
No, you've chosen, when you scout, you go, we want to shoot here, here, and here. And you get permission to shoot in those areas. So, for instance, the next couple of episodes, there's good instances. Like the 76 building is where, what's his name? Not Mason.
Walsh?
His boss gets shot.
Walsh.
Walsh. Yeah, Walsh. I love that building. It became a studio because of 24, I'm pretty sure. Because we were shooting there all
Wow.
the time. Someone bought the building and they built stages next door. It's now such and such, I don't know, Los Angeles Studios. But it used to be the 76 building. The petrol company owned it originally, who built it. It's
Wow.
so Thunderbirds to me. There's a Thunderbird building. I love that. I got goosebumps thinking about it. That corridor I chose where Mason and meets the guy with the elevator. I had to build the elevator doors in that corridor, but that's next episode. Sorry.
That's okay.
So for instance, in that building, you go, we only need to shoot that floor, and they give you a price for that floor. The Bauer house, I would assume we would have made a deal to go in the day before to dress it, 2 days of shooting, 1 day to undress it. So you pay a premium amount for the 2 days you're shooting, half the amount for a prep day, and half the amount for the packing up day. And usually send the people that are living in the house to a hotel for 4 days, and you shoot wherever you want in the house. But you told them we want to shoot the living room, and we're going to, take your furniture out, or usually and bits of street. No, it's usually from here. You tell them exactly where you're going to be shooting, and hopefully, if it's a location where you've got the whole place, then you and the director can wander around and go, oh, it'd be nice to do this shot here. But no, it's usually pretty planned out. By the time you're shooting, with the AD where you're going to be. And yeah. And when Kiefer turns around and goes, I don't want to do it here, you go, dude, we got to do it here. No, he never did that. No, he didn't. No. So that's that's locations. And then, of course, on 24, what was the tricky bit for me was always, so when I built a set on stage, there was always a fake wall or something, or a screen wall that I knew after I'd worked there a while. I didn't know where the set was going to go. Like Palmer's Retreat, suddenly that wall disappears and there's a conference room beyond. But yeah, if let's say we would, none of these episodes, but yeah, we'd end an episode there was a murder in a house, or someone gets killed in a house, then we'd have to, 4 weeks later, the next 2 episodes would just shoot something in that house, but it wasn't worth going back to that house and taking the whole crew. So I would then build a room on stage, or the entrance or something. When we get to those episodes, it'll fun for me to remember, that's not that location I think it is. That's in the garden with it. There was a lot of tent work in that first season. There was a lot of building big black tents in empty spaces to do a lot of the poor man's process, the car driving. Yeah, we did a lot of, if we didn't have enough to pick up during the day, we could always build that tent, and they would do a driving scene with, yeah, that's what I remember. There's some episodes coming out with a female cop. She gets shot or something. I don't know. We're running around some warehouses. I remember that we're building a big black tent on that episode.
And how big was the big black tent when you built it?
Well, it's going over a car. So, I mean, and I got a crew working around it with lighting. So, I mean, it's got to be about, 10 meters by, we're in feet in America. So 30 feet by 30 feet, 30 by 30. Yeah.
Okay.
And goes
and then
up.
You've got you just got lighting elements that are being waved by the lights outside. Is that?
Yeah. No, everything's inside. Again, well, when we get to them, I'll go, that was a poor mess. We were very good at that. Rodney, they came up with a really, really good system. Other shows used to come and watch how we did it, and they never were able to copy it. They always either put the camera too far away outside the car. You got to get in there. If you're outside the windscreen and is a very fine line. You've got to be inside, long lenses, and I don't know. They nailed. People used to come and watch it because they didn't believe that it was poor man's process. But yeah, I remember shooting footage for some of that on a rear screen. Yeah, we used to do some of that. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Meeting George Mason and the twisty-turny of the CTU game. It all starts inside of this episode and meeting George Mason. And again, what another brilliant character actor portrayal here that
Yeah.
he continues to impact the series as he appears in it. And it's so quick. He's hardly there for any period of time. And then eventually he just gets tranquilized.
Right.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Mostly because I know I have had jobs in the past where I so wish I could just trank my boss. You know, like where's the tranquilizer gun?
But I see, and I when I saw that shot again, I don't know, Guy or whoever did the handheld, whoever did, and Stephen, it's a beautiful shot. Him taking the gun, putting it in the folder, and he kind of follows him upstairs. Now, that's a shot in a movie that is prepped over hours, and they nailed it. I don't know how long they took to do it, but again, Guy, I could just say, and Guy and Kiefer, they were like, this was the first episode they worked together. So, they hadn't developed the dancing partnership that they eventually did have. But watching that too, yeah, Kiefer was like, that's why we do these rehearsals, and everyone would leave, and Kiefer would have these rehearsals with the director, and then other people would with the other actors, and then the camera unit and the DP were brought in, and then the rest of the crew. But yeah, no, I mean, you can say that I took away from that scene. Yes, yes, not the story. I agree. The story-wise, tranquilizing of the leg is, but what the tension is also helped by the way that was shot, and yeah, it's brilliant.
Once again, the soundtrack asserts itself. Another grand nod here to Sean Callery. And again, a reminder to all of you to pretty please use the links that are in the description here, but then also at the show notes for this episode over at 24podcast.com. You must get this soundtrack. All of the music that's available for this is just top notch and something that you should absolutely have inside of your collection. I think what I get still to this day the most of is I can put on any of that soundtrack and I can be doing anything else inside of my studio, and it just instantly propels you. It compels you to work, and I love it.
Oh, you mentioned that's right, the ringtone. Oh, wait till Cisco Systems. This is the first. I mean, I got stories to tell you about it. When we start doing video conferencing, there's an episode somewhere in season 4 or 5 that we do this video conference on one side and the other. And I got a funny story to tell you about that stuff. Anyway,
I cannot wait for that, because it's something that back then Tony was my co-host back then,
right.
And it's something that we reveled in the digital nature and magic that can be pulled off just simply because of the Cisco telepresence suite.
Right.
It was delicious.
So no, well, let's do the story now, because it may never
let's hear it.
there. So the story is that they come for a presentation, because we do these video conferencings, right? By that time, we're doing these video conferences with people. We're making this shit up. But because we've got Cisco systems, like that phone, suddenly they've got their own video conferencing system. So they come to present it, right? And it's this box, and I pick it up, and it's just an empty plastic box. It's got a bit of a shape to it and a kind of a camera lens. And I'm like, okay, but how does your system work? Well, it doesn't exist. So what do we do? So we're shooting because on the screen, Cisco Systems is going to come up.
Yeah.
And and the little black box is going to sit there, and we're going to point it out. That's Cisco Systems. But I've built everything else. We've got the technology to shoot, the guy next door, or, there's another set over there. We've got another camera. So it's a real live video. But I just remember picking this up going, but where's the system that works? And the representative went, it doesn't exist yet. Oh, so we're advertising a product that doesn't actually exist. And at that point, and then I said, but we're getting money for the set or something, and we weren't. And I was like, and I couldn't change it. But I think I was more pissed off because I couldn't change when it comes up and it goes Cisco Systems video conferencing. I just hated that, and it just wasn't part of the 24 look. But so that's how
wow. There's a
detail orientated I was, that it wasn't real. Do you know what I mean?
No, I love that. And again, there's some context here that'll probably get misshapen, and I just don't frankly care. The context is that when we got to that point inside of the storytelling, and again, this is season 4 into season 5 for those that are curious. When we got there, we just started calling it the Jesus Eye technology because, hey, we need shit to happen. So it would just come out of nowhere, and there would be instant technology to do it. So that is such a perfect story, Joseph, and I'm so happy that you shared that, because it's essentially it was all being divined by you guys back then. That's that's delicious. I love that.
And I used to,
oh, man,
but also I used to get very particular about aerial stuff, the satellite footage. And I remember once going, and it turned out to be a nightmare. All I wanted to do was get a 16-foot ladder, have somebody dressed in Jack's jacket so I could get up high at a garage round the corner and do some video surveillance stuff. And all I did was ask wardrobe to lend me the jacket. Well, within 20 minutes, the UPM is calling me going, what the fuck is happening? I've got calls from makeup. I've got this. I was like, what? I just asked for a jacket. It's just me going with my art director. I'm having him put the jacket on. I don't need hair. I don't need makeup. All of that. And it would all get blown out of proportion. So that's why I started. So the thing that did come from the pilot, or when we went to the airport with the girls where that airplane takes off, is that I saw a sign that said, learn to fly for $25. So I started taking flying lessons. And I used to call my my instructor and go, dude, I'll pay you for the hour's lesson. Take me up. We're going to fly over this area. You take the plane. I'm going to be taking photographs. And we'll go back and I'll have an hour's lesson, and I've got photographs, proper satellite photographs. Even to one point that we did this episode where the 2 cop cars pull over, or there's a hijacking with the yellow Nissan van. And I'm taking photographs of the guy pulling the other guy out of the car. And so I've got surveillance footage from a Cessna. Right? I'm taking these photographs, got all the photographs. And as we're pulling away, these 2 cop cars pull up as if it's a real kidnapping. And I'm taking all the photographs. But I said, wait, we can't go. And I've got my radio because the AD is down there trying to explain to the cops that it really isn't a real kidnapping. It's just the art department fucking around in an airplane and trying to take photographs of a yellow Nissan. That's how particular I was about trying to make it feel real. It's too funny.
Well, I love that. You're also outside of the box. It's something I also put inside the notes for the second episode capture, but we'll throw it in here because it's appropriate. The context of now going and buying any one of a number of now commercially available drones that could instantly not only get whatever view you want, but also do a number of things that you simply wouldn't need, say, a helicopter for. You wouldn't need to go and learn how to take lessons for flying for $25 an hour. Right. All of those things are now null because we have what is essentially a variety of different drone technologies available to dudes off the street. I've got a, it's not called the drone, but it's called the flying camera here inside of my studio. And the flying camera it's a couple of ounces. It doesn't weigh hardly anything. Right. But it will not only follow and track me, it will also go and do whatever I program it to do. And again, the jump in technology and the availability for especially filmmakers, especially someone that's got the tendencies that you have, is amazing with technology now. It's just scary.
Yeah.
Meeting a photographer, and Palmer gets the intel. All right, so David Palmer finally realizes that there is a hit out, or a potential hit, that's being put into the ether, the rumor mill. And at the same time, we're also meeting aboard the plane. We're meeting the photographer, Martin. And I love all of this. Why do I love it? Because it's short, it's to the point, and you instantly get a storytelling thread or a ribbon that you not only latch onto, but you're willing to let it guide you wherever it goes. I love all of that.
Yeah, and I mean, even his character is written brilliantly. That he doesn't give a shit about her, so you don't really give a shit when he gets blown up. I mean, you know, do you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
like,
well, not only that, the only thing he does give a shit about is the photograph inside the magazine that he pulls out of the back of the airplane chair
right,
that it supposedly has his photographs in it. I mean, like, what a
right.
grein line. Joseph, can I show you this magazine? Oh, here's a picture of mine.
Yeah.
I love all of that. It's
Yeah.
like it's the perfect woo, right?
Yeah, yeah. She's good. She's good, Mandy.
Mandy was tremendous, just superb. The quiet in Jack's office is magnetic.
Right.
One of the things that I'm leaving all of this space in here inside of every edit that we have when there is absolutely nothing going on is because silence is a completely lost art inside of modern entertainment. Everything must now have some splashy bullshit soundtrack over it, rather than allowing the characters, the storytelling, the set design, and everything else to actually provide you with what's going on inside of the scene. There's got to be some other element that's added on, because you can't possibly have silence and have somebody satisfied.
But
And that's not the case at all.
No, and that was when we were saying that again. I was saying that the other day about blank walls. People are always afraid of this just blank, you know, just to let the whatever breathe for a moment. I think I told you that I was watching the first episode of the Foundation series, and after 20 minutes I was so claustrophobic. There was so much detail on every single panel. The Star Wars have gone the same. There's every single panel is covered with something, and I just can't breathe. And but that's just me, you know, that's my style. I like simple contemporary stuff. And but yes, the same with the music. You've got to put your soundtrack on. You've got to put something. You can't just, I don't know, let the scene be.
Well, again, it's about it's something that we talked about forever inside of 24, and the acting prowess of Kiefer Sutherland, which is he literally says more by saying nothing in many scenes inside of 24.
Yeah.
And it's something that I challenge any actor to try and remember that when you are acting. And that, again, it gets back to a piece of compelling storytelling that everybody should remember. It's far easier to show than it is to tell. And Kiefer is all over it in regard to being able to show versus tell. It's all over just about every acting portrayal he's ever been in, whether it's Lost Boys, Stand By Me, any of the other television programs that came after this one. All of it, when you're allowing him to be on camera and literally saying nothing, he's still able to advance the storytelling because he's showing versus telling.
Yeah.
And it is magical, and it is a lost art. Martin and Mandy in the airport lab. All right. So you can't possibly have an airplane without two people being in the lavatory, right?
No.
And was that shot inside of a plane, Joseph, or was
yeah, there would have been. I assume it was at the. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but they have. And it probably doesn't exist anymore because I heard Modern Props is gone as well, the prop house. It was one of those things. What did I just see? Oh yeah, no, I watched the video that you sent me, and there was a link from the picture was this thing that's been in so many television shows, and they talk about this thing. It was in this movie and that movie, and Yeah, there's one of the things in Hollywood I don't think that they have anymore. They've got rid of a lot of the prop stores. So yes, there was a place, and I can't remember, that they would have had the inside of a 747, or you rent the pieces and you put it on stage. But I'm guessing for the pilot, they just went and shot. I can't remember the name of the place, but they have it's a warehouse that they had a couple of airplane fuselages in. What was the? Oh my God, I have to find you. What season did we have the KC-135? I had an interior of a KC-135 because I got photographs of my mother when she visited, and I've built this KC-135 in the parking lot. It's the fuselage up to the thing, but we shot it on 24 for. Kiefer must have been in that scene. Anyway, it'll come to us when we see it. But anyway, airplanes. I'm always there. Well, yeah, I've rented like the private jets sets that we put on stage. We used that a number of times with Kiefer, a corporate jet. But that one would have been too big to. I can't remember the place, but there's a place in LA you could.
So it was a place that had a fuselage inside of it. Inside of the fuselage was the seating arrangement, and then also the lab, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And now I can't even remember, but you'll see that probably all the head things and whatever, you'll recognize it from every other movie, or other movies change it if you're lucky. But yeah, no, I think it's just a set you rented.
Jack wakes up Mason and then really wakes him up. Man, this is great. Again, there's an assertive piece of Jack's character that I love, that I wish I could put into like a little envelope, and when I needed a little pick me up during the afternoon, I could open up my envelope and just put a little behind my lip, like chewing tobacco, and just revel in it, because it's so much fun. And there's a cadence of direction that is not yelling. It's not scolding, but it is propelled obedience that you will now comply.
Right.
And I love it. And he gives it with both barrels to Mason inside of this scene, while being completely subdued at the same time. I was instantly hooked by Jack Bauer inside of this.
Yeah.
Mandy goes rogue. And so the little darling aboard the airplane getting the $10,000 Lovers Club badge is a little bit more than what she appears to be, because she tranks the stewardess.
Right.
And then it all goes completely sideways inside of this story. This is tremendous storytelling inside of this very small piece here.
Yeah. She's got inside people that have planted stuff on the airplane.
And isn't it funny now, looking back now 25 years to all of this, and how something like that, I'm reasonably certain you couldn't pay it off the same way. You'd have to have some other auxiliary storytelling point that would sidestep modern day security now, because you couldn't just open up a fire extinguisher and, hey, look, giant bomb that'll blow up a plane.
Right.
It doesn't work that way anymore, mostly because of 9/11 again. What I also love here is that it's all about getting that card, which is, again, a completely just left field element.
Yeah.
That is a piece of the storytelling that weaves itself in over the course of the next series of episodes. I love all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the card. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to surely you could have got it a much easier way.
Something.
But that's boring. You could get him landing at LAX and kidnap him or whatever.
Right.
It's so outrageous that it's brilliant.
It is.
I think I used to use that word with Joel, is that when because I think, going back to the original. So I watched the pilot, and I asked Joel if I could redesign it to make it look more high tech. And I disappeared for 3 days to design it. I did my drawings and things. Hopkins came to my room and he goes, hey, a little bird told me that Joel's feeling a bit anxious that he hasn't seen you for 3 days. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm just...
Because you're working your ass off?
Right. Designing this whole set. Anyway, so I go to his office and I, knock on the door and I walk in and I said, Joel, I just wanted to let you know how I work. And he went, no, let me stop you right there. I'll tell you how I work. And I went, okay, I need to see everything. You need to walk me through the sets, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not going to. I'm just like spent 3 days designing CTU and I'm going to give you a presentation later on this afternoon. And he said, oh, okay, all right. But he laid down the law that he needed to see everything. And it wasn't until the 5th episode or whatever episode I did the LA police station that was very modern, because I'd asked him about that and he said he wanted, LAPD, NYPD blues, that kind of old Hollywood look. And I was like, and that's when I first said it. I was like, Joel, I'm trying to give you a stylistic, think James Bond show. We've got ER and it's in a hospital. Let's just make this a little bit cooler. And he said, sure, give it a go. And that's why I did that very, very Matrix-like prison cell. It was designed with the idea of when Keanu's mouth gets sealed up. It was these green squares, very, very modern. No police station looks like that. But I walked Joel through it when it was done. And he at the end of it, said, okay, so from now on, you're just my production designer. We don't need to talk about sets. You do what you like to do. And we never talked about sets after that. I was just, I would just design whatever I thought we could afford. And that's why I think, again, 24 had a look because, it would have been just like TV. He said NYPD police station. We've seen it a million times.
Million times.
So,
yeah.
So anyway.
The context here too is that we propel to the end of this episode where we just have a bomb going off and Mandy floating through the sky, and then we snap to black with a ticking clock.
Yeah.
And again, the flavor that this conjured, not only with the visuals, not only with the storytelling, not only with the soundtrack, with the portrayals from the actors, just the pace that was provided inside of this program is and was electric, and it's still there. It's all still there.
I told you that I saw the pilot on that VHS tape, and when it finished, I fast forwarded till the end of the tape to make sure that there was nothing else. And I know well there was nothing else because I've been employed to do the next lot. But the pilot for me was so good that I remember just hitting fast forward just in case. I don't know what I expected, but it was brilliant. I remember going, God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being instantly engaged. And again, for those that are curious, something that propelled our 24 podcast throughout its entire run was the concept of we had to watch the program. We then had to capture the program. We had to make the 24 and 60. We had to edit our program, put the 24 and 60 in the program, and push that out by Thursday. So the program would appear on Monday. We typically would either try and get in there Monday night or the next day. By the next day, I'd have the 24 and 60 made. That would help propel what we were going to talk about inside the episode. And then by Thursday afternoon, we had to have it pushed out, not only because we wanted to give people the weekend, but because by Friday we would have people clamoring, where's the episode?
Right.
And it's something that has completely changed inside of the land of especially online content, because now 24, unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, because you can go and revel in so much of it now, you can essentially go and watch every single episode of 24's first season in 24 hours, because guys, that's the get from this is that you're literally watching 1 hour of Jack.
Yeah.
Then you're watching the second hour of Jack. And then you're watching the third hour of Jack. That's the gimmick. That's the that's the compelling reason why you not only can you not turn the channel or not turn the show off, you have to be available for the next one because it's coming next week. And so all of that disappears with the concept of online content because it's all just shat into a pile for you to sit and imbibe. We'll talk about this several times in the future, but I can remember instantly when it changed into something completely different. And it's when Netflix decided to release the very first season of Netflix's Daredevil.
Right. Yeah.
Which, by the way, for those that haven't seen that, that's also something that is just, it's chef's kiss to not only comic books, but probably the best Marvel storytelling that is available on television, or was available on television, and is now available inside of the entire MCU catalog. It also is on Disney Plus and doesn't look like it was shot through a potato. So that's gonna be a nugget in my craw about that, because could you not give 24 some benefit there? Anyway, the whole thing about Daredevil's first season on Netflix was that they dumped all 13 episodes of that program at one time.
Right.
So what that unfortunately means is that people like me and anyone else that has any interest in Daredevil, especially comic book readers, you're not going to take in one episode. You're not going to take in just 4 episodes. You're likely going to try and take it in as hardcore as you can, which means you would never be interested in somebody talking about episode 3 the day after episode 1 comes out.
Right.
And so that was an absolute turning over of the apple cart inside of what we were doing in regard to doing compelling, engaging week-to-week storytelling about fandom in regard to storytelling from television series. It was devastating. Did you watch that series?
The first series of Daredevil, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the first. It is the one which they then the second series. No, then the following season they did Jessica
Jones.
Jessica Jones,
Hey,
and then
you're gonna laugh. Jessica Jones. You know who does that soundtrack, don't you?
Sean Gallery.
It is Sean Gallery.
I watched. Yeah, no, but again, it's sort of too far, and they stretched them out. And what was the series I've just almost started watching again? It was like it's been so long since I watched the first season that I was like, I can't be bothered to watch the first season again. And I'm, I don't know. Is it Fallout? I kind of started watching and then was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
her eyes make me feel weird. Have they done something to her eyes?
Fallout is another one that has taken what is essentially was ultimate storytelling and unfortunately has skewed it into this kind of fog.
It's not just me, right?
No, it's not just you. It's not just you. The value of that. I'm reasonably certain you didn't play the game Fallout, correct?
I did the first one when it first
you did.
came
Okay,
out.
great.
I did.
Well, then as did I. And that's the whole thing about this thing where there are many things that are compelling instead of gaming. I think, in fact, gaming might be the only industry that's left that still has potential of not being having the ass rot out of it because of its availability and being gaming and not being just modern day entertainment. And the original Fallout is a perfect sample of that, where not only was it engaging storytelling, it was that nihilistic future doomsday, how are we going to survive thing that really, really did work. And it just allowed you to go and venture into it as deep or as shallow as you wanted. And I miss that. That's the feeling that I was looking for from the television show. And I got none of that from the television show.
Right. Did you watch Silo?
I didn't. Which network /
I don't know.
Availability?
It's with Rebecca Ferguson. She plays the lead.
Okay.
No, I was just interested in your take because I liked the first season, but again, then it's just like it looks. See, I think that it's always been the case with American television, and Ricky Gervais said it about The Office. He wrote however many seasons, and when it was done, it was done. He moved on. But American television, you'll do the same with. I asked Glenn Close when I was working with her once, and we were at dinner, and I said to her, "So on Damages, I love Damages until it got I think 4 episodes to the end, and it took a right turn because I felt she should die. In the original, where this show was going, she was so evil. I was expecting her to die, and she survives because I said to her, I asked her, were you supposed to die? And because I felt that it got so successful that when they started airing, they went, oh, the network, when we can't just do 1 season of this, we've got to keep her alive and do a number of seasons. And she said, no, I was always supposed to, we were always supposed to do a number of seasons. And I don't believe, I don't believe it, because that's what happens. They will string out a series just because it's successful, rather than, again, or you'll fire like Heroes, the first season of Heroes. The writer, Tim Krieg, was it? Somebody like that. He was involved, but he was such a pain in the ass to work with the studio that they got rid of him. And after the first season of Heroes, it went into something completely different, and I lost interest. But the first season, was it Heroes? Yeah, it was Heroes. Yeah, Heroes.
Yeah.
So
no, there were many.
Yeah.
There were many series like that really just got the shit end of the stick. And again, we're not going to pile it onto here, but the concept of the writer's strike also just upended that entire apple cart. It was all just disaster. It's funny that you mentioned Glenn Close too. She appeared inside of a season of one of my very favorite television shows, The Shield. And she was bananas awesome inside of that season of The Shield. The Shield
were the guys we used to play against paintballing a number of times.
Really?
I can't remember what season it was. I think it was like the first or second season. We all started playing paintball, and the Shield heard about it, and we started playing paintball against them on Saturday mornings. It was so funny because I would play with Kiefer and Sterling in props and a couple of other guys, but with our masks, we were playing with Jack Bauer, because you could hear him. He'd say, I've got you covered or something, and it's like you're playing with Jack Bauer. It was quite funny.
That's very cool.
And we'd always win, and it pissed them off because they were a cop show, that they were always, trained by the cops to shoot. And there's me and Sterling with our little fingers, because paintballing isn't like a real gun. It's just,
no, it's not.
Just firing as fast as possible.
Fast as humanly possible.
one of the grips or something thought he was a stuntman, and the first thing he leaps over this tree and lands on his knee, and that was it. He busted his knee, and he never worked. He was in hospital, and he never came back to the show. It was just, I was like, dude, we're not in a movie. ruined his knee because he thought anyway. But that was funny about The Shield.
The Shield is another program I would love to go back, find someone like Chickless and the stars from that program and go back and revisit it, because that is one of my all-time favorite programs.
But you see, that's the thing about the handheld camera. They started doing the handheld camera, but you can see the difference. They move for no particular reason. It just moves for the sake of moving. Whereas 24, it was always a reason. You heard something, now you move. I always explain to people, if there's an explosion, don't shoot the explosion. You hear the explosion, now move the camera. And that was 24. We may have spent all the money, and we'll do a wide shot and we'll get it, of course. But yeah. It was always, motivation for moving the camera. We weren't just moving. I couldn't watch The Shield because of that. It was just moving for the sake of moving.
I got you. The bottom line, though, is that we've gotten to the end of our very first 24 podcast episode capture for season 1, episode 1, hours 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. And this is where we ask you guys, what did you guys find inside of the episode that piqued your interest? What is it that made you compelled to stick with 24? We want you to let us know what you think by going to 24podcast.com. Again, click on the contact button, fill out the quick web form, and tell us what you think. You can also contact us via social media, via any of the array of contact availabilities that we have inside the description, but then also at the show notes over at 24podcast.com. Joseph, we always wrap up the 24 podcast by providing this episode a rating. The scale works thusly. 10 is peak 24, an incredible experience that cannot yet be matched. A 0 is obviously a giant goose egg where nothing great happened. Everything starts at a 7. The score goes up with positives. The score goes down with negatives. And by the way, Joseph, there are no halvesies, so only whole numbers. Joseph, what do you got for this episode?
You got to give the pilot a 10. I mean, it doesn't fault for anything. I mean, for me, like I said, if you fast forward a tape that you know that there's nothing on the tape, and because you enjoyed it so much, you got to give it. I give it a 10. I mean,
yeah. One of the things that I always tell people is that if you're looking for really engaging storytelling in what is not only a good television show from way back, but is also something that is 24 episodes as opposed to the ultra 8 episode crap that we get out of today, then you really do need to visit 24. And the reason I always tell them is because this episode is the gateway drug to engaging storytelling. Period.
So when the fan phone started in the second season with the Aras family, I think we had the fan phone. That's when I started talking to fans on the phone. And video, they don't, of course, you know, they don't exist anymore, but Blockbuster and all of that, you used to go and get your videos from there, and people that own video stores would call and they would tell me the same story. So someone comes in and they want a recommendation. He recommends 24, or people just come up with the first episodes and they pay, they check out. And as he leaves, he goes, we close at 11. And they go, don't I have these for 3 days? And he'd go, yes, but I'll see you before 11, remember? And of course, they go home, they put the video in, and within an hour, they've watched the pilot and the other episode, and they need to get back to the video store to get the next episode. So many video stores do the same thing. I always tell them, we close at 11, and they always look back going, can't I have them for 3 days? You'll be back. It's a gateway drug. For sure.
It is. It absolutely was. Having said that, I too also give this episode a 10. That's where we want to know what you guys would give this episode, the very first episode of 24, season 1, episode 1, 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. Let us know what you think. Again, you can use the comment section here inside of the video. You can use the social media roles. You can also go over to the website over at 24podcast.com to revel in everything that was the original 24 podcast, but then everything that we're going to be compiling here for you, the audience, via the 24 podcast. Until next time, I'm Mike Wilkerson. Guys, that is the irrepressible, never to be equaled Joseph Hodges. Joseph, thanks for joining me inside of this first episode, friend.
No problem. Thank you. It's been fun.
Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Next time.